Hello, hello, hello. It's not where we start, ladies and gentlemen. It's where we finish. I'm Anthony Gafa, and you're watching Unfiltered with Gafa. I really want to talk about not around. A lot of people think, well, yeah, I've ticked the box, I've put my deposit down, and I'm well on the way. I've got a 5-day cooling off period. My settlement's not for another couple of weeks, 3, 4 weeks. So what's the rush? That's where people up. I call it the up stage. You've engaged a buyer's agent or you've bought the property yourself and you're in that phase. You've got a week to go, 2 weeks to go till it finally settles and the keys are yours. This is the difference between being an astute investor, a savage investor, or an investor that's just ticked the box. They've got there and now they're just going to assume everything will fall into place. If you haven't negotiated a delayed settlement, well, you need to act now. You need to act straight away. Like I say, you've got 3 or 4 weeks after the cooling off period's complete. What do? Do you wait till you get the keys, then you go check out the property, then you organise a photographer? This is assuming you're going to rent it. So you get the keys. Are you going to be an astute investor? Or are you going to be the lazy investor? You've done all that work for the last 2 years, saved your deposit, got the money down, found the place, and now you're going to be complacent. Well, my advice to you is do not do what most people do. You've exchanged, settled, now you go there, you have a little bit of a housewarming party or a little celebration, whatever you do. And you go in there and you organise a photographer and another final clean. It might take a week or two. Exchange contracts and 2, 3 weeks till you settle. A lot of people wait till they get the keys. Then they make a decision on what agent. They'll meet some agents at the property. Some agents can come in the first week. Some of the bigger ones may be too busy. 2 weeks in, you're meeting agents on site. You've had 3 or 4 agents come through, and now you're going to decide who is going to manage that property because it's a big decision. That takes a little while. You've got it down to 2 agents, and now you want to negotiate on fees. There's another couple of days. So now you're 2 weeks past the purchase date. It's settled, and you're 2 weeks in, you're looking for an agent. Next thing, the agent that you select, you've negotiated on the commissions. Now they need to organise a photographer. If it's an apartment, they've got to get in. They've got to talk to strata. Another week or 10 days later, you get a photographer in. Then another week, the photos got to go through some edits. They get furnished through AI. There's another 2 weeks. You sign off on the photos. You have a couple of open homes. There's another week or 2. Who's to say you're going to get a tenant in the first inspection, in the first open home? You're not. Don't become complacent. We've now taken our time to get an agent. We've now taken our time to get a photographer through there. Some open homes. You're not totally satisfied with the first couple of people that move in. Next thing you know, it's another 2 or 3 weeks. That property now that you were relying on to return you 3 or 4% that year has now gone to 2 or 3%. You need to ensure you act straight away. Do not become complacent. Just because you've been hustling for 2 years or a year to get that deposit together, you've finally got the job done, you've got it across the line, that property is now yours. It's not time to relax. In actual fact, the day that property settles is when you want a tenant lined up. If you can negotiate with the existing tenant, or if the property is being owner occupied and the existing owner wants to stay on, it's not a bad thing. As long as you can still ensure your final inspection is done properly, My advice is this: try and keep that existing tenant in there, if they're a good tenant, that is, because it's an opportunity to give them notice if their lease is up. If it's an owner occupied property and the owner wants to stay there, the previous owner now wants to stay there, that could be a good thing. They might have a lot of stuff stored in the garage or in the shed or in the storage, and it's hard for them to move for 4 weeks till their new property settles, or it's hard for them to pack everything up and put it all in storage before they move overseas for in the next 6 months. It's a good opportunity for you to negotiate rent terms with the previous owner. And it needs to be done at a premium because they're staying on and the property is now yours. You're not getting ownership of it. I'm not saying to rip anybody off, but don't rip yourself off either. So, two parts. One is you can become complacent, like I said earlier. By the time you engage an agent, 2 weeks. By the time the photographer comes in, 2 weeks. By the time you have an open home, another week or two. You're not happy with the potential. Well, my advice is this: don't go down that path. You had a 42-day settlement. Once the cooling off period is complete, that's when you start negotiating with local agents. Understand how much they're going to charge during the cooling off period. Ask them questions such as, how much do you charge? How long will it take to get a tenant? Can you start advertising the property? Of course, they can't do open homes while the property is not yours, but there are ways to get interested parties, expressions of interest. Property is coming on the market. Don't wait till the property settles before you've got all your ducks lined up. The photographer, maybe you can pick out old photos, speak to the previous managing owner, speak to the selling agent. Can you use the photos from the sale to use for when you're leasing this property out? Do not wait until the property settles to try and find a tenant. You need to have a tenant lined up prior to settlement. Oh, but that's not legal, Anthony. You can't do that. There's more than one way to skin a cat. I'm not telling you to let them move in or try and move in there early. But by having an expression of interest, you might have 5 or 6 interested parties. If your property settles on Thursday, there's no reason why they can't come and have a look on Friday. Let's get them in. Let's get them paying rent. Let's get them starting that lease straight away. This eliminates that process of waiting for photographers, negotiating a lease, negotiating with the potential property managers. Skip all that. Have somebody ready to move in. Don't fuck around. The last thing you want to do, have that property vacant for 6 weeks. And then the next thing you know, the tenant that you were going to have move in there cancels at the 11th hour and says, oh, yeah, you can keep my holding deposit. So my advice is, as soon as you know you're buying that property, that's when you start having those conversations and sourcing that information, the photos, the ad, get it all ready. Speak to the agents to see who they've got ready to move in once the property settles. This will be so advantageous to ensure you maximize your return in that first year. Because let's face it, the property's a $700,000 property or $1 million property, whatever it is for that first property. Every dollar counts. Having it vacant for 8 weeks will really have an impact on your investment. And I'm not saying to rush and put a bad tenant in there. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying, don't become complacent as soon as you know you're in your cooling off period. There are a number of things that you'll also have to tick off. Start some sort of communication with the strata if it's an apartment. Understand where you're at with your bills. Any inspections, carry them out while you're in that period of settlement. So if you need to replace a piece of glass, if you need to replace a shower screen, if you need to do these type of things, they can be coordinated while the property is in that period of settlement. Yes, you can't do the work unless they let you. You can always ask the question. But these things need to be coordinated. So the day you get that property, that's when all that work's being done. Don't delay it any further. As far as all your insurances go, understanding any bills that need to be paid. Again, these are things that you need to get your head around prior to settlement. And if you don't take my advice on being one step ahead, don't whinge, don't complain, don't blame anybody else but yourself when it comes to having to sell that property because you can't afford the repayments. Because the budgeting has been tight all along. You finally got your property and now you become complacent. That is where people go wrong. Sure to follow me on I am Anthony Gafa on all my socials, and my podcast can be viewed on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcast, and all leading podcast platforms.